Welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with the interview series presented by WFPK at WFPK.org, Consequence of Sound and the Consequence Podcast Network. Thank you so much for checking out the series as always, and especially today. As usual, you know the drill. If you like what you're hearing, what you're watching, please subscribe. We put out brand new interviews every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It's a great way to keep up. And today I'm so happy because it's one of my favorite people to talk to, as we seem to do every single year now. Welcoming once again, Sheryl Crow. Hello.
Hi, Kyle.
It's so great to see you again. How's everything going in the barn these days?
You know, it's been kind of a productive time. I mean, I'm ready for it to be over. Honestly, sure. I'm way over it, but I'm really lucky. I mean, I play a lot of instruments, so I can accompany myself, and we've been really, I've been trying to keep my band busy and being really creative. And my kids are always asking me, "Mom, why are you practicing?" And I'm like, because when you practice, you actually get better. And they're both taking like music lessons. They're like, "Why are you practicing?" I'm like, stop, just because you think you know what you're doing. But it's been okay. We've done quite a few quarantine videos, and we've had a good reaction to those. People are like, we want you to put those out because we like them better than the albums.
Oh,
I know, right? So I'm like, yes, because we know it better now. We didn't really know the song when we were first recording it. But yeah, it's been good. And the live shows that we've done have been, so far, really well received. And they're going to be up for another couple of weeks. So we're going to keep going.
Yeah.
Do.
Yeah, it's been really fun to watch all of that. And I'll pick up something that you said about knowing the songs better because in all of this, we sort of get one of those moments, too, with the song Woman in the White House. This is a track you did, about 10 years or so ago. And you've given it an update for obvious reasons, as we now are in this heated political season once again. But the song started out very different. I mean, this was originally a bit more of a country song. It sounds like in the original version. So aside from the obvious, and we'll be talking about the politics, too, but musically, what was on your mind to update it?
So the song came out on Feels Like Home, which was the sort of country tinged record. And Hillary Clinton was running for president, and it was kind of tongue in cheek. It was very kind of country oriented, like actually old school country oriented. In fact, we even mentioned Loretta Lynn in it. Quite a few years have gone by that it continued to add to the 230-something years of not having a female in the White House. And this time when we did it, it felt much more aggressive. And, we did it in a way that felt much more in your face. And, just in reflecting how many amazing females historically have led countries. I mean, obviously Angela Merkel and Margaret Thatcher, but I mean, all the way back to Golda Meir, and women in so many countries that aren't even as forward thinking as America. The fact that we're still, men are not so willing to vote for a woman, and women are not so are not so committed to voting for a woman. And that to me speaks volumes about where we're at. We keep this conversation about inequity, inequality, and women's pay. And I still find that we're having a lot of the same conversations that we've had for the last, 20, 30 years. And, it's worth investigating why we're still stuck in this place. So we'll see what happens with this election. Obviously, we're not voting for a female to be president, but the possibility of Kamala Harris becoming president is a real one if Joe Biden wins.
Yeah, that's true. And who knows what the future holds, but I do love that there was one point that Joe Biden said, that it's on his mind to purposely be a one-term president to get the vice president. And it's almost like it is that if you're voting for Joe, you're almost voting for Kamala, which would be great. Would be great.
Great. And she's qualified, and she is, prepared. And this goes all the way back to Geraldine Ferraro. It's time. I
Yeah.
mean, it is time. I always say this sort of in jest, but it's true. There have been no women that have taken us into a war. So let's see what happens if we have a different kind of communicator in the White House.
Absolutely.
And let's get to a point where we don't define a strong woman as a bitch.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I always appreciate, you speaking out on this. I know we're on the same page. I'm 99% sure we're voting for the same party here. So it's, but, so this song comes out and is very quickly followed by a brand new song. In the end, I know I compliment you a lot every single time we talk.
Well, that's why I love you.
If I was trying to think, like, if you want to call whatever chapter of your career we're on, I was like, maybe this is like chapter 3 of the hard chapter stops or whatever. This is the best thing. Like, I've loved so much that has come out of this. It seems to me lyrically almost a very natural progression of when you started from Halfway There, that song. And not just in playfulness with those lyrics, Halfway There and in the end, but really going further down that line too. It's an amazing song. I can't get enough of it, but it's also an important song, what you're saying here. So let's hear about this one too, because obviously, again, am I off by saying this comes really further down the line from what you were talking about with Halfway There?
Absolutely. I mean, I think I'm always coming from this place of, well, I'll tell you, I heard the Dalai Lama speak 20 years ago about compassion. And he said one thing that I thought, wow, that is just the simple truth. Unfortunately, it is the human struggle. But if every decision was made from a place of compassion, no matter what field you're in, whether you're a parent or whether you're the head of a major company or a world leader, that the world would be a completely different place. And it's just that simple. And Halfway There addresses, it addresses people having differences, but finding that common ground, because we do have more in common than we don't. In the end, it addresses karma, and karma, it basically seems to be owned in people's minds by Eastern religions. But I look at karma as being a simple truth of whatever you put out into the universe will come back to you. I'm constantly telling my boys when we give money to these guys on the street that sell the newspapers, the dollar newspapers in Nashville. I've got one child that's like, Mom, can you give it? How much do you have? Can you give him $100? And then I've got my other son who's like, Mom, he probably drives a Ferrari. He probably has an amazing house. I've got like the empath and the accountant. And I'm constantly saying, look, everything in life is about intention. And if you have the means to lift someone else up and you don't do it, you miss out on your blessing. I mean, you miss out on the good energy that comes back to you. You can be a cynic, but what you'll get is you'll get cynicism. It will all come back to you, and I really do believe that. And I believe when you have people in the White House or people in businesses who are out there hawking vaccinations with trackers and everything else, we've gotten to a place where everything is about money. It's all about money. I'm actually renouncing my membership to the Democratic Party, and I'm going to become a libertarian, because I feel like now we're at a point where the government is so paid by these special interest groups that nobody on Capitol Hill works for us. And, our public servants are supposed to make $174,000 a year, and they make millions. And I just keep saying, what is wrong with this picture when they have to answer to the people that are getting them elected? There's no compassion in that. There's no empathy in that. And that's what the song is about. It's like when you had an opportunity to help all these people of color they're the ones that are suffering the most from job loss and from poor health care and COVID. Are you doing anything about it? I scratch my head and say, man, we parents need to start modeling to our children in order for them to get some idea of how to save their future, because we're not helping. I mean, I don't see us as middle-aged and on up. I don't see us modeling to our kids what's really important, and we need to start really taking that into account and holding, being accountable for that.
And leading with compassion. I mean, it is, I've heard the Dalai Lama talk about, the quotes and everything come from there. That's always struck me as something. There's a part in this song in the end. I think everybody concentrates really on that first verse because, you come out swinging with it. But really the second verse, as I'm looking at here, I mean, that's a powerful statement right there. I mean, and I guess I am tying in a little bit religion with what we're talking about too, because there's a man on the cross with his arms open wide and a fear that they'll quench the world's fires. And it goes, I'd actually like for you to talk about that a little bit too, because that second verse seems to kind of add, I guess, to what you're talking about here.
Yeah, I mean, I am a Christian. I am also an avid meditator, which I don't believe is owned by any particular religion. I also, I have my opinions about the conservative right, not the conservative right, but the religious right that basically fund the presidency, that fund the Republican candidates. We all know that Falwell was a person that was very integral in Trump getting the nomination. And this song was written before Falwell. The point of it is that there is a large population of people that use the ideals of Christianity as being an excuse for judgment and condemnation. And I was talking with this friend of mine yesterday who was saying there's no place in the Bible where God or where Jesus condemned. I mean, the woman at the well who committed adultery, and all these people want to stone her. And Jesus said, what's the quote? Let the one without sin cast the first stone. That I think it's so hypocritical to cling to Jesus as an identity or for being emblematic of a belief system that is completely antithetical to what Jesus stood for. I mean, Jesus lifted up the weakest of us and brought in and fed those who were without. And we don't live by the Beatitudes, certainly. And even, if I can go out on a limb on the pro-choice issue, not pro-choice, but the pro-life issue. That is a way for politics to keep people in a political party. Because if you really were pro-life, you would be at the border trying to help these little babies who were separated from their parents find their families, or you would be up in arms when children were starving in our own backyards. So I find that, Christ and the tear that can quench the world fires. Right here in Tennessee with Marsha Blackburn, who is a naysayer of climate change. And it's just shocking. Everything cannot be about politics. It has to be about, as my parents say, leaving the campground better than how you found it.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. And I don't know. I really, if I were to do anything besides music, I think I would try and really work hard to get a constitutional convention brought about. We have had them in the past, and it's really time to look at the Constitution. And although Marsha Blackburn says that you cannot change the Constitution, and I will say that she would not be in the office, nor would she have the right to vote unless we had done that.
We had to change the Constitution, right?
Yeah. I would like to see us look at the Constitution from a more compassionate angle and really address some of the things that are archaic, that were based on a colony of 13, or based on a country that was much smaller and that was growing but spread out, and that was based on, landowners. And I just think there has to be a way to bring people together to look at what is best for people. And one of those things is getting money out of the pockets of the people who are defined as public servants. And they're not going to do it.
Right.
So,
because why would they?
Right.
Yeah.
They're also not going to pass term limits. There's a multitude of things they're not going to do because it doesn't behoove them.
Yeah. Well, once again,
we didn't know this was going to be so uplifting, did you, Kyle?
There's so much packed into that song, and that was my point. I mean, honestly, that's what I was hoping for. There is so much packed into that song. And I'll bring it around, too, because you've been writing like this for, all throughout your career. You've written many different types of songs, but, you've addressed stuff in the past. Have you noticed if it's changed the way you would write? And I want a blanket statement here saying politically, especially as we've gotten closer to the moment we're in now. Have you noticed that how you write a political song in this way has changed?
Well, all I can say is everything to me right now. Like, for instance, making Threads became sort of a stepping off point at saying, I don't have to make albums anymore. I mean, I also don't get to make albums anymore in my mind, because it takes so much time and so much money, and you're putting stuff together that you just want to go, it needs to come out now. It should just come out now. And aren't we that civilization now where we want it now anyway? And in a minute it's going to be gone. And so if we are abandoning this idea of making an album statement, a full journey, a beginning, a middle, and an end, then writing this way for me it's so in the immediate, and it's almost like being it's like being a commentator. And it's really, for me, it's joyful. It's also full of not just immediacy, but a real urge to, I guess, just to address the elephant in the room. And obviously the elephant for all of us looks a lot, different shades according to our belief systems. But it's a great time to be an artist. It's also a great time to be a 58-year-old artist, because I'm never going to compete with Ariana Grande, and I'm certainly never going to compete with Cardi B, and I'm not going to be relevant to the 13 to 26 demographic. And there's liberation in that. There's liberation in the fact that I know when I write a song that I'm not the only one that feels the way I feel. And that music has been everything historically. It's been the pop songs, but it's also been the protest songs. And there was a time when protest songs actually got played on the radio, before radio was all about money. But there are so many different avenues of ways to get people to hear music, and people know so many different ways to find music. And so, I just feel like it's a part of my DNA, and it's just what I love. Yeah. And I cannot not write about the things that I see and feel. I'm raising 2 little boys who are asking me the hard questions every day on the way to school. And it's on my mind and on my heart.
Well, they end up being great songs. And I will say about, keeping up, competing with Ariana or Cardi, it makes me think of like when you first came around, how you were kind of taken in by all of your heroes. And now it's these new pop artists who are calling you their hero. It's like, that's, you might not be competing on the pop charts, but at the same time, you're still very much in the conversation. And I think that speaks everything about the music that you still put out. I mean,
that is really cool. There is a lot of incredible music being made. I am of the age, and I am raising 2 little boys, where I am now the Tipper Gore in the car. I'm constantly like, you can't listen to that, or I'm sorry, we're not going to listen to that. And unfortunately, that's what that's what's at pop radio. It's pretty much all about sex. And they're young enough that a lot of the stuff that's in the songs they don't understand yet. So that's funny. My 10-year-old, who was 7 at the time, was going around, strip that down for me,
I mean, to be fair, I remember singing "Let's Talk About Sex, Baby," back when I was.
I can remember learning to play "Whoa, whoa, 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 my love does it good," and my dad coming in and saying, "What did you just play? You're not going to play that anymore," So yeah, there's going to be censorship wherever there is a parent and a child.
Sure.
But there's such good music out there, and we have a great radio station here that is an independent radio station called Lightning 100, and I'm constantly Shazamming, and it's fun to be still being inspired by young artists, and old artists. I mean, I still listen. I go to Robert Plant. I'm just like, dude, you are still writing amazing music. Mm-hmm. So you just have to dig a little bit harder, but nonetheless, I love it.
Yeah, I know those Lightning guys well with Rev. Of course, we have WFPK here in Louisville, and
they have great radio stations there too.
No, we love those guys down here. I'll wrap up with just what's next then. I mean, should we expect some more songs like this leading into this? Do you have more things to say musically going into the election, or?
Oh no, I have nothing more to say.
I don't believe that a second.
We just did songs from the Big Green Barn last Friday and Saturday, and it's still up. You can still buy tickets for it, and that was really fun. It was fun now that it's out. At the time, it was the weirdest thing. We did a live show. It was an hour and a half outside. Me and 3 of my bandmates. We had 1 tech and a sound guy and some cameras. And then we came in the next day and did an acoustic set in here, and it's very storytellers. It's an odd thing now to play for nothing, for no one. You know what I mean? I'll go out and I'll play shows, and there'll be like a multitude of people holding up their phones, and it's just like, put your phone down. But now I'm playing for phones with no people holding them. So it's really weird, but we got that under our belt. So we'll continue to do that in different formations. I think we'll do next one. We may do the Complete Globe sessions live. We're just going to try to keep the ball rolling and keep as many of my folks working as possible. We also just did Audible. Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with Audible? And that was really interesting as well. I heard James Taylor's Audible, and that's the reason when they asked me to do it, I said, yeah, I'll do it, because I think now with social media and all the branding and everything is very calculated, to hear somebody actually tell the intimate stories, the ones you don't necessarily get to read about, or the ones that aren't, blown up in People or Us or whatever. It's the real intimate stuff that I think gives you a glimpse into people's real life struggles. And I don't know. I wound up doing that, and I talked a lot about some things I've never talked about, and that was definitely cool. So, I'm just going to keep first raising my kids, and then secondly, just making music.
Yeah. Well, we're so appreciative that you do too. Thank you so much for the music that you made and that you continue to make. We're going to be there for every single. We'll be there.
You're awesome. Thank you. I'll definitely be talking with you next year, right after I get my mammogram.
That's what I hope for. Every year, Kyle Meredith interview, mammogram. We're once a year, every time.
That's right.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. That's the cut point right there. Sheryl, thank you so much for doing this. It's always a pleasure, and it's always so fun.
Good to see you.
Yeah, you too. We'll see you around next time.
All right. You will.
All right. Bye.